Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing dumper sadness in January. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing dumper sadness in January. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, it can be a concerning time when the new year begins. But your ex is unlikely to be having a great time of it either. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 things to consider about why your ex-dumper will feel sadness in January. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is back to reality. So when the turn of the year takes place, as a dumpee, we're often likely to be worried that our ex-dumper is living their best life. We're going to be worried that it's a new start, and the fact that they are likely moving on with their life. And this is compounded by the fact that the party season is over, and as a dumpee, we probably didn't have much of a party anyway during December. So not only have some of the only good things come and gone, and like I said, as a dumpee, you may have not enjoyed it really either anyway. What I can say is that as a dumpee, you are likely to be looking ahead with a lot of concern. Things which should have made you feel happy in your mind didn't. And now it's back to reality. Now it's likely back to work. Now it's likely no partying for a very, very long time. Christmas and New Year are a year away. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, the weather often gets worse in January than it actually even was in December. And there is a whole manner of things which often make January feel the most depressive month. So when you're thinking of this from a dumpee's perspective, you're thinking, yeah, I feel terrible. I didn't feel that great when I was supposed to over the New Year period. Now, everything looks really, really bleak. But my dumper, well, they're probably living their best life. But what you probably haven't considered is that your ex-dumper is also going back to reality. Their party season is also over. And any time that they may have enjoyed over that holiday season, now, well, it's come and it's gone, and they are likely alone. It's very, very difficult to find a long-term compatible partner post-breakup for at least a year or so, if not much, much longer. So if your breakup was a few months ago, and your ex-dumper made that choice to end your connection, of course, they probably had in their mind that they was going to be living a life that they felt would be more fulfilling. They probably felt that they could find a better connection. But they're now probably finding out how difficult that actually is. Now, over Christmas and New Year, maybe they did a lot of socialising. Maybe that did take place. I know as a dumpee you probably worried it would. Well, maybe it did. But now it's over. And what does your dumper have to show for it? Maybe they met up with people they hadn't seen in a long time. Maybe they met new people. But where are they now? The likelihood is they're alone, just as you feel. So as a dumpee, yes, you are feeling that rejection, which your ex-dumper might not be feeling in the same way, but you're both seeing the beginning of a new year from a similar perspective in regards to being alone rather than being part of a couple. And although it was their choice, they probably didn't see it or imagine it to be exactly as it actually is. Like I said, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, the weather often gets worse in January than it was in December. So things naturally feel more bleak. Even if you're not in the Northern Hemisphere, even if the weather where you are is quite good, there are still many things which can pull us down in the month of January. The party season, which is now come and gone, is a whole year away. We're living a life where everything seems in front of us, but also very much unknown. When you're a single person, either by choice or because unfortunately it's been put on you, it's still the same perspective, it's still the same angle. You don't know what's ahead of you. You don't know what it's going to be like moving forward as a single person. And as a dumpee, I know that you're feeling that right now, I know that you don't need me to be reminding you of that feeling, but what I'm trying to say is your ex-dumper is probably feeling that as well. And just because they made that choice, it doesn't mean that going ahead in their own direction alone is something that they don't feel fearful of. It will likely make them feel quite scared at times. This is why we're talking about dumper sadness in January, because even though they decided to end the relationship, they didn't decide to be lonely. They was hoping, they was gambling, you could say, that they would find a better connection. They probably thought they could do it quickly. The reality is, it's not likely to happen for a very long time, if at all, because maybe their best connection is actually you, and they just need to come to that conclusion. On top of everything else, as a dumper, they will likely have people who used to be in their life no longer in it, i.e. the people who support you, your friends, your family, maybe even some of their friends and their family may have taken your side in the breakup. So even though they decided to action the breakup and become the dumper, it actually might play out that they are more alone than you, because you might have all of that support from friends and family on your side, and maybe even from theirs as well, whereas they might be going about their life alone. They didn't want to, they didn't expect it, but this is definitely one of the reasons why dumper sadness can hit in January. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have a new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is, has dumpee hit the ground running? So we've said at the beginning of point number 1 that as a dumpee, you're probably concerned that your ex-dumper is living their best life. You're moving into the new year with that fear that they've made a decision to end the relationship, and they're probably doing their own thing and really, really enjoying it. Now, like I said, that's probably not the case. And because it's not the case, it actually means they might be thinking the same about you. Now, you're probably considering, why would they think that I'm living my best life? Why would they think that I've hit the ground running and achieving all of these amazing goals and dating lots of people and living this type of crazy, amazing life? Why would they think that? Well, they're probably thinking it because if you have lived your life the right way post-breakup, if you've implemented my version of a no-contact rule, if you're improving every single day, then it might actually be true. It doesn't just have to be an assumption, it could be reality. Now listen, you might need to fake it till you make it. You might not be at a point where you do feel like you're living your best life, but you can certainly give that off by the way that you promote yourself via social media, when you speak to friends of friends, and your general demeanour. I'm not saying it's easy. In fact, I acknowledge it's very, very challenging, but you can give off the impression that you've hit the ground running. January has come and you're already in your flow, becoming a version 2.0 of yourself. Are you really doing it? Well, I like to think that you're on your way to do it for real. Maybe you're not there yet, and maybe there is a little bit of smoke and mirrors about how exactly this is coming across, but I do genuinely believe this can be real and authentic and not just an absolute fantasy. However, if your ex-dumper is thinking it, that's all that really matters. So even if you are still struggling, if you have implemented my version of a no-contact rule, then your ex-dumper is likely getting to a point where they are considering that you're living your best life, and they're not. I've already said that it can be very tough for a dumper as a dumpee as we move through into January, and now we're hitting the moment where they're probably considering you're living a better life than them. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. They don't know, and therefore they're starting to ask themselves the question, did I make the right choice? Did I make the right decision ending the relationship? Because I thought I was going to be moving forward in this amazing way, yet I'm alone in January, at the beginning of the year, supposed to be a new start, and yet I'm the one that's alone, and I've got this sneaky suspicion that my dumpee is living an incredible life, probably dating someone new, definitely a version 2.0. I've been a real fool. I've been an idiot. I've made a bad choice. This is when they can start to think about you, wonder about you, get to a point of missing you, and if that happens, this is when they can reach out to you. Remember, dumpees, it is never too late to start living your best life, and this is why and when you need to be doing it. And the best time to do it is yesterday, and the second best time to do it is to start right now. You need to begin. You can do this. I believe in you. And if you can get your ex-dumper to even consider that you are living a life that maybe you're actually scared that they're living, if you can get them to believe that about you, you're winning the battle of eventually getting your ex back. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is things cost more alone. So today we're speaking about dumper sadness in January. And one of the things which often hits us in January is bills. The cost of the holiday season, the party season, is generally expensive. And these bills often land in January. If we've got a credit card, if we've got something to pay off, it's January where we have to pay for the excitement that hopefully we've had a month before. January is notorious for being a difficult month financially. People have often spent money on presents the month before, along with anything else they may have been doing. So when we consider January sadness and your ex-dumper feeling this way, we need to include the fact that being alone often costs more. You're not going to be splitting the bills, especially if you once lived together. Maybe you've had to get different places now. Maybe they've moved out and you've kept the place but you live with one another. This could be a situation where they're struggling more financially than you. And although I'm not asking you to feel sorry for them, and I'm also not denying that you are probably struggling with your bills as well, this is why your ex-dumper is not likely to be having this amazing time that you are fearful of during January. As a dumpee, you are going to be often thinking, oh, they're going to have a fresh start, they're moving on, it's January. The reality is they can't even afford to have a fresh start. They can't be joining the classes, groups and clubs that I often suggest people do because they don't have any money. So what are they doing? They're sitting at home alone, they're procrastinating no doubt, they're thinking about the past, they're starting to believe that they may have made a mistake, and you as a dumpee are moving higher and higher up their thoughts, providing you're living your life the right way. What I mean by that is as long as you are not bothering them, as long as you're not chasing them, texting, calling, knocking on their door, as long as you aren't lowering romantic emotional attraction in their mind, then naturally it will be raising in their mind. If you're not chasing them, then they're going to be thinking of you. And as I said, I know you're likely to be having some, if not all, of the similar struggles I'm talking about your ex-dumper having at this time, but you're probably going to have a bigger support network because, like I said, a lot of people are probably going to be supporting you due to the fact that you've been dumped, whereas your ex-dumper is probably not going to have that level of support around them. On top of that, dumpers are much less likely to seek support, as in listening to podcasts like you are right now. So I'm your teammate when you're listening here. Your ex-dumper probably feels alone, and this is why that dumper sadness can really grow during January. The financial bills piling up on top of the emotional turmoil and stress will likely get to a point where they're thinking of you and likely considering they've made a huge error of judgment. Now, does this mean your ex-dumper is going to reach out to you during January? Well, that can't be guaranteed. You know, there is no 100% guaranteed way to get an ex back. Nothing works 100% of the time, and nothing fails 100% of the time. But what we can say is that if you live your life the right way, dumpees, there is an increased chance that your ex-dumper will start to think of you in a positive light. And if that happens during January, it's probably going to be compounding by the way they're feeling about themselves, which is probably in a more negative mindset. If this combines there is a chance they're going to reach out. And even if it isn't in January, it could be setting the wheels in motion so that they do get to the point of reaching out to you maybe in February or March. When a dumper reaches out, it's very rarely that they've just suddenly thought of it and then sent you a text. The likelihood is they've been umming and ahhing about it for months. So maybe this is where it begins, and later in the year is where you reconnect. Now, if you live in the USA and want to support my channel, please consider shopping at Walmart using the affiliate link in the description. As a Walmart affiliate, I may earn a commission if you make a purchase at no extra cost to you. Thank you for your support.